Welcome into the Wiltfong Whip Around with Steve Wiltfong. Today's Monday, October 21st. I'm your host, Josh Newberg, and we got the best insider in the entire country, Steve Wiltfong, on the show. We're going to hit on the biggest developments coming out of the weekend and some major intel that's just dropping. All you guys got to do is sit back for the next 20 or 30 minutes and get caught up on all things recruiting. But first, do me a favor and hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel, the best recruiting channel on YouTube. All right. Also, some of you are thinking about signing up for On3. You can do so now for just $1. That's right. I can get you to On3 for just $1. Go to on3.com, use promo code FONG1, and you can sign up to On3 for just $1. All right. Let's get into it. Now, there is a lot of big visits, Steve, but the biggest news coming out of the weekend is five-star Jared Curtis in the 2026 class. Quarterback, decommitting from the Georgia Bulldogs, no longer a dog. He put himself back on the market. It's also just a big day here at On3 in general. We updated our 2026 rankings, and Jared Curtis is our number one quarterback. So, 6'4", 225 pounds out of Nashville Christian School. Committed to Georgia back in March, but he's now back on the market. What are you hearing in terms of what's next for Curtis?
Well, you and I were talking about it off air before we came here live on the Wiltfong Whip Around, and we both feel like Georgia could get him back in the fold. He's going to be in Athens again for Georgia's big home game against Tennessee. He loves Kirby Smart, Mike Bobo, Coach Gummy, Montgomery Van Gorder, those guys. He trusts that those are the coaches that could get the best out of him, playing on the stage he sees himself playing on for a school that he loved. But look, he reopened the process because he thought he decided too early. He wants to take more visits, and he doesn't want to be one of those quarterbacks committed that's out there on the road visiting other schools. And so look, anytime he took a visit, whether it was to USC in the summer or South Carolina earlier this fall, he always had to call Coach Bobo and say, hey, I'm going to take a visit elsewhere. And Coach Bobo would be like, that's cool, but remember, you're a dog. Well, they're going to keep recruiting him, keep telling him he's a dog, and he's going to be back for the Tennessee game, and he's looking forward to getting back around the staff and getting back around the coaches. But the door is open for several other programs to also land Jared Curtis moving forward. I think that starts with Oregon. He had a great visit to the Ducks campus in February, loves Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, is excited about what Dan Lanning and company are building in Eugene. He wants to get back out to Oregon sometime, and I think that Oregon is one of the main schools to keep an eye on moving forward. He's going to be at Auburn on November 2nd for the game against Vanderbilt. Now, Auburn is a new school to the party, but his coach has a good relationship with the staff on the Plains. He hears good things about Auburn. That's a game in close proximity. So he's going to go check out Auburn. Other contenders for Jared Curtis include Alabama. He wants to get back to Tuscaloosa. He was very familiar with them under Coach Saban and company. He's just now getting to know Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan over the phone. Clemson's another. He hasn't been there in a while, but he's been talking to Garrett Riley, wants to see where that goes. South Carolina is one of the programs I'm taking real serious for Jared Curtis. Dal Logan's the offensive coordinator, is one of his best relationships. He was there for the LSU game. He loves the way that they got Spencer Rattler back on track after he transferred from Oklahoma and helped to develop him into an NFL draft pick. And then USC, you're going to see him wearing a USC pullover in the interview at the end of the show today that you did with Jared Curtis while he was in the On3 studio on Sunday. He loved his visit out there this summer, wants to get back, points to Lincoln Riley and his track record of offense and quarterback development as something he's high on. And then one more school in the mix for Jared Curtis is Ohio State. He nearly committed to Ohio State at one point. They had some turnover with their quarterbacks coach with Corey Dennis moving on, but they got Chip Kelly in there now. He's already been to Nashville Christian School to see Jared Curtis. He's excited about Ryan Day and Chip Kelly in the same way he's been excited about Georgia and their offense, and then the way he's talked about Oregon. And so Ohio State is another program that's in there for Jared Curtis. And then we'll see who else can jump in and get involved for the five-star passer. Number 3 overall player in the updated On3 2026 rankings.
Yeah, we'll have an interview with Jared Curtis that I did with him in studio at the end of the show. One of the things he told me off the record was that he didn't really watch a whole lot of quarterback play. He doesn't watch a whole lot of football in general. He just has other interests. But he did mention that Cam Ward is the one guy that he really enjoys watching. Now, Miami, we'll see if they get involved, but I do think if Miami kicks the tires on Jared Curtis, he would have some interest. So that could be another team to watch. Steve, we mentioned that the On3 rankings were updated for the 2026 cycle. We also have a new number one, not just at quarterback, but overall, because Jakeem Stewart reclassified to 2025, leaving a void there. So we have a new number one. It's edge Zion Ely. And you today put in a new expert prediction for not just him, but a couple other top prospects. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Zion Ely. I like where Oregon stands with the newly minted 5-star from Baltimore St. Francis. He was in my city on Friday. They played Center Grove, dominated the state powerhouse, Hoosier State powerhouse on Friday night. And I got a chance to spend some time with him before the game. And I also talked to him this morning. I think Oregon is the program to beat. He was there for Saturday Night Live at the end of July. He came back for the dominant win over Michigan State this season. His relationship with the Oregon staff is second to none right now, and he just loves where that program's headed. He was at Maryland this weekend, saw the Terps rally to beat USC. I actually think they're in the top 2 right now. But this recruitment, all recruitments are fluid. Miami, Texas A&M, Tennessee, a few others he mentioned. Ole Miss is another program that he's got some interest in. So we'll see how things develop with Zion Ely. But I like where Oregon stands. My On3 RPM reflects that. I feel like on whatever depending the day, Josh, Jackson Cantwell, he's the new number 2 player in the country, number 1 offensive tackle in the land. Sometimes I'm really feeling a Georgia prediction, and sometimes I'm like, let's wait and see, as you got Missouri in there. Missouri does a great job of keeping the state's best in home. You got LSU in there. Alabama is going to visit those 2 programs coming up. Nebraska is one of his favorites. But I still think, and I know my colleague Chad Simmons does as well, that Georgia is setting the pace for Jackson Cantwell right now. Logged 2 more new On3 RPMs this morning, Josh. John Tarrantine III is an offensive tackle from the state of Texas. The Longhorns look like they are setting the pace early in his process, and my On3 RPM now reflects that as I join a couple of our team insiders predicting the Longhorns for John Tarrantine III. And then Darius Gray is an offensive lineman from Richmond, Virginia. He's been to South Carolina a couple times, spring game earlier this season. He's got a lot of programs on his mind. He's got upcoming visits to Tennessee and Ohio State, but I think Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks are setting the pace for Darius Gray. So my On3 RPM also reflects that.
All right. Let us know what you guys think of Steve's latest predictions on some of these top 2026 targets. Let us know. Comment section below. All right, Steve, let's head to Knoxville. We got to talk Tennessee recruiting, where the Volunteers beat Alabama 24-17, and Neyland was absolutely electric on Saturday night. Steve, you've been talking to a lot of recruits that were in the stadium for that one. What's the current reaction?
Well, I think you start with Isaiah Campbell, the number 4 defensive lineman in the country, number 32 player overall in the On3 player rankings. He took his official visit to Tennessee over the weekend, got home late Sunday night. Saturday was an opportunity to take in game day festivities. Really enjoyed the atmosphere of Neyland. Look, those goalposts came down, fans rushed the field, goalposts were pulled out again. There was a heavy cloud of cigar smoke over the city of Knoxville as Tennessee beat Alabama for the second time at home in a row. And Isaiah Campbell and his family are sitting there watching a defensive slugfest on the field. They see the player development along the front of Tennessee's defense, how dominant those guys were. They point to Rodney Garner for that. They're like, look, you got to have great athletes to play at that level, but you also got to be developed and prepared. Tennessee's defensive line is among the best in the country. They salute Rodney Garner for that. And Isaiah got a chance to talk to Tennessee's players about what it's like to play for Rodney Garner. And they love that experience. He's tough on them, but he's getting the best out of them. And that's an environment and position room he could see himself in. And certainly he would maintain the standard of play we're getting accustomed to seeing at the point of attack for Tennessee moving forward. He got to see more of the campus he had been to a game day before, but they got to talk to so many of the support people at Tennessee this weekend to see what helps Tennessee players be successful off the field. Again, time spent with the players was awesome. I love my on 3 RPM in favor of Tennessee that I put in before the visit. He's going to take an official visit to North Carolina next month in November. North Carolina is normally pretty tough to beat for coveted in-state talents, but I think they got to rally here if they're going to keep Isaiah Campbell home. He still communicates with Clemson, former Clemson commit. You have Notre Dame, USC trying to get involved, but I think it's Tennessee still setting the pace for this prize defensive lineman, Josh. It was a big weekend for 2026 too, man. Obviously they went out there and landed a commitment from Brandon Anderson, a Peach State offensive tackle that visited 2 weekends in a row. Some guys that they're at the top or near the top of the list for when you look at this updated on 3 player rankings. You got Rodney Dunham. He's the number 19 player overall. He's a standout baseball and football player that said this was one of his best experiences, talked about the culture they're building at Tennessee. So I'm keeping a close eye on the balls there moving forward. Caden Hall is the number 24 overall prospect in the updated on 3 player rankings, a safety from the Sunshine State. He loves the way Tim Banks has that secondary, making a lot of plays on the field. He thinks he could fit well in that scheme and loves the energy around the program. Tennessee's trending to flip top 100 linebacker Rodney Colton from South Carolina. He's been to the last 2 Tennessee games. And speaking of linebacker, Josh, that's still a need for the Vols in 2025. They had their commit, Jaden Harmon, back on campus. He's an absolute space-eating second-level defender, an explosive player that visited Alabama earlier in the year. Coming out of that Alabama visit, he told me he could flip back to the Crimson Tide. Coming out of this Tennessee visit, he's locked in with the Vols. Austin Howard's a 4-star, currently committed to Mississippi State, but he's trending towards Vanderbilt. Depending how numbers shake out with Tennessee moving forward, how many more backers they take, I could definitely see him in Tennessee's class as well. Commits loved it. Top prospects loved it. This is how you get ahead in recruitments with juniors and sophomores. They did it 2 years ago when they beat Alabama. That was pivotal. They beat them again. It's going to have ramifications on the recruiting trail for years to come.
All right, Tennessee fans, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to the Tennessee fans that were in Neyland Stadium on Saturday night. You heard what the recruits had to say. We want to hear from you. What was Neyland like to be in those stands on Saturday when the Vols beat Alabama? Let us know, comment section below. All right, Steve, let's talk some Miami Hurricane recruiting. The Canes, they beat Louisville in a absolute shootout on Saturday, and they take their undefeated record back to the Hard Rock, and they are looking to cash in this weekend on some recruiting momentum. The Florida State Seminoles limp into town, the rivals, and we know lots of recruits will be in attendance for this one. So we're looking at some flip targets on campus. You got DJ Pickett, Solomon Thomas, Ben Hanks, TJ Alford, Jarquez Carter, Shamar Arnaud. It almost feels like the entire visit list is made up of flip targets. What a big weekend it'll be for Miami.
Miami had a top 5 recruiting class last year. This weekend could be huge towards them making a run at another top 5 class this year. I think they're a great bet to have a third straight top 10 recruiting class, Josh. They're going to treat this game like Florida State's also undefeated. And we know Mario Cristobal always has his team up for big games. That goes back to his time at Oregon when they went into places like the Shoe at Ohio State and got a big road win, and certainly that win against Florida to start the season this year. And you talked about all those targets that are going to be on campus as Miami season continues. It's hard to imagine them not flipping some of those guys. That starts with DJ Pickett, man. Number 1 corner in the country, number 1 player in the state. LSU's doing all the right things. They're playing great on the field. They're in first place in the SEC. He's got a couple more visits set up for LSU. But this is a return trip to Miami this fall. The Hurricanes, I don't even know if they've completely hit the gas on DJ Pickett in trying to flip him and close him. Mario Cristobal has been relentless in his communication, but I think that push is going to continue as you get closer to the early signing period in December. Ben Hanks was at one of Miami's wins earlier this year as things continue to play out in Gainesville. And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Florida has a new football coach next year. They're battling week to week, got a good win against Kentucky last week. But as Ben Hanks and his family monitor things in Gainesville, Miami is certainly not relented on recruiting Ben Hanks away from the Gators. Shamar Arnou's excited to get back to campus. I talked to him today. Chad Simmons talked to him today. Miami definitely a threat to flip him moving forward. And again, these are the kind of games, these are the kind of weekends where you can make a lot of hay on the trail, make some moves. And I expect Miami to play a great game against Florida State on Saturday and have that carry over onto the recruiting trail.
Yeah, absolutely. You can feel the momentum building as the Canes try to move closer and closer to that top 5 class, and I think this weekend will be a big move in the right direction. Canes fans, talk to us. Let us know. Comment section below. Which of those flip targets do you think is most flippable? Let us know. Comment section below. All right, let's stay in your home state. We're going to go to Indiana, where the Hoosiers, they beat the Nebraska Cornhuskers mightily. 56-7 was the score. A lot of recruits on campus. Now, Julian Lewis did not make it in, but there were some important prospects in Indiana. Steve, talk to us.
Well, let's talk about the ones that did make it to campus first, Josh. And you got the Hoosiers in the college football playoff now, right?
Oh, I do. I penciled them in.
Yeah.
Not pen, but pencil.
I got them in dark pencil right now, as they'll be favored in all their ball games but one moving forward. And that Ohio State-Indiana game in Columbus all of a sudden is one of college football's biggest games. But Indiana, they had 2 major 2025 targets on campus this weekend. Tyrone Burris is an in-state edge rusher currently committed to Louisville. I now have my on-3 RPM on the Hoosiers to ultimately flip him. He had a great time watching the game, was in the locker room afterwards. Pat Kuntz is his lead recruiter. He was out to see him play recently, watching Indiana develop their players, putting them in the right place schematically. Top 10 offense, top 10 defense. When Tyrone Burris committed to Louisville coming into the season, he didn't know what Indiana would look like on the field this fall from a development standpoint, from a scheme standpoint. It was only what Indiana was telling him. Now they're showing him, and I think he wants to be part of it. I like where Indiana stands. Byron Baldwin is an on 300 defensive back from Baltimore St. Francis that at one point was committed to Indiana. He took an official visit to Colorado for the Baylor game. Colorado instantly started trending after that experience, put in an on-3 RPM for the Buffaloes during that, right after that visit ended. He then decommitted from Indiana. It looked like he is a strong lean to Colorado, but Indiana got him back to campus on Saturday. He played his high school game in the state of Indiana Friday night against Hoosier State powerhouse Center Grove. Baltimore St. Francis ran through them, got a huge win, and he was decked out in Indiana gear as he played that game. Gloves, sleeves. Indiana had some coaches at the game to watch him. Then they got him on campus for Indiana's first home game as a ranked program since the early 1990s. They dominated Nebraska from the very first possession, and they're showing him again, top 10 offense, top 10 defense, come be part of it. He's one of their most coveted players moving forward. Indiana's not recruiting a lot of 2025 high school recruits. Julian Lewis is obviously another one. They're going to use this success on the field. They're going to use their NIL capital following the season on guys in the transfer portal to maintain this new standard, this new level of success that we're seeing at Indiana. But Baldwin, Burris, and Julian Lewis are key 2025 targets. We'll see if they circle back on a couple others. They might, but those are the 3 main ones in 2025 right now. Julian Lewis was not at this game. There was some talk that he could make it to Memorial Stadium for this game, but travel logistics just did not go his way playing on Friday night. I'm expecting him at the Michigan game with a couple of his teammates. That's always been the plan for him to get back to Indiana for a 3rd time this calendar year to watch Indiana play Michigan. He's supposed to be at Colorado this weekend for a 4th time this calendar year for Colorado's big showdown with Cincinnati. And then he's been to USC twice this year. When you talk to people that spent time with him at USC, they feel good about keeping him in the fold. But look, there's people around Julian. There's people in the Peach State that think he could flip. And Indiana's right there in the middle of it. He's got the longest standing relationship with Tino Sunseri, the co-offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. Sunseri went and saw him during Indiana's bye week. Indiana's offense is top 10 in just about every statistical category. Their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, is a Heisman candidate. He went from unknown nationally to a Heisman candidate in every other quarterback award as he battles Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders for those accolades, among others. And look, it's an offense where it looks kind of plug and play at quarterback too. Taven Jackson came right in for an injured Curtis Rourke, and I don't even think he threw an incomplete pass as Indiana continued to run up and down the field. So IU said, look, Julian, don't make a final decision this summer. Watch these teams play this season. Watch USC play. Watch Colorado play. Watch us play. And Indiana specifically has been dominant on offense. And one thing Kurt Cignetti told me coming into the season, Josh, my last 3 quarterbacks have been conference players of the year. They have different styles of play, but one thing that remained the same is they were the most dominant offensive player in the league each year, and Curtis Rourke has been the most dominant player in the Big Ten this year, so he's got a chance to go 4 for his last 4 at that position.
All right, Indiana fans, talk to us, comment section below. How are you guys feeling? Not just about the season, but the recruiting class that the Hoosiers are putting together. Some big-name visitors, not only on campus, but could be coming soon. So talk to us, comment section below. All right, that's it for the Wiltfong Whip Around. Up next, hope you guys stick around. We have an interview with Jared Curtis, the #1 quarterback in the 2026 cycle. We were just talking about him fresh off that decommitment from Georgia. Check it out. We got a rankings update here at On3 for the 2026 class. And guess what? There is a new QB1. His name's Jared Curtis. Jared, you're out of Nashville Christian School, so congratulations. And what does it mean to be On3's QB1?
Oh, yeah, thank you. It means a lot. We put in a lot of work, but, none of it would be possible without my teammates, receivers and O-line, getting it done on the field and helping me out with that. So yeah. I'm grateful.
All right, so Jared Curtis, you're the #1 quarterback. You're the #3 ranked player overall. So you go 6'4", 225 pounds. Now, what are some of your strengths as a quarterback, and what do you think some of the things that you need to work on?
I'd say, work on first. I'll be like, probably defense, learning the defense, seeing blitzes, seeing the coverage better, and just, protecting the ball. And strength, I'd say, probably extending plays, and leading on the field, like with the receivers, telling them what to do, and coming off the field and helping them out, seeing the coverage just like I do.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your leadership off the field. Junior year, you're almost through your junior season. So as you've kind of progressed through your freshman, sophomore, junior year, you've matured as well. So what's it like stepping up into a leadership role on and off the field?
It's kind of a natural thing, I just like to better the people around me. They better me. I want to give it back and better them. My receivers, they're always coming up and asking me questions, which is great. I love it. They care about the game just like I do. Go out there and they produce on the field. So it's kind of we're like all in one. Helping each other.
All right, you guys are 7-1, gearing up for a run in the playoffs. How do you feel your team's playing through 8 games this season?
Yeah, it's gone by really fast, Wish we'd have got that one game back that we lost against BGA, but it happens, and you just got to take it week by week.
All right, let's talk about the news that you made on Thursday when you decommitted from Georgia. Now, you stepped away from your commitment. What was that like? What was that day like when you put out that tweet saying, I'm no longer committed to Georgia? Was it a little bit bigger than you expected it to be?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That morning I called Coach Bobo and Coach Smart and Coach Gummy and, told them about the news. And, of course, like they took it how I expected they would, no hard feelings. Obviously they're not out of the race yet, love them guys, and I love to get back up there and talk to them. But, I just wanted to visit other places and not be committed. So, that's what I'm going to do. And, still keeping Georgia in the way.
Yeah, and you're going to be back at Georgia. That's one of the visits that you're going to take. So tell me, what are the trips that you're going to take this season?
November 2nd, I think I'm going down to Auburn versus Oklahoma. The 16th, I'm going to Georgia versus Tennessee, getting back down there for that game. And the 30th, I think I'm going to go to Alabama versus Auburn. Okay.
When you go to these games, what are you looking to see? What are you looking to find out?
What they do on the field, pay close attention to that, the play calls, like what the coaches do, and just getting up there and talking to the coaches, building a relationship with the coaches is probably the main thing, and the recruits around me.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to take these visits. this probably won't be it for you because you can take your official visit. So let's talk a little bit about this timeline because every recruit's different, right? We saw Aaron Dunn, offensive tackle, decommit from Utah on Thursday, commit to USC on Friday. I mean, that was a really quick timeline. What do you think your timeline for another decision is going to be?
I'd say I'm going to hold off for a little bit, just take it step by step, finish my season I have going this year. After, obviously I want to take a couple of officials, just getting up there, connecting with the coaches, a couple times to each place probably, and, just getting up there and checking it out.
Okay. So ultimately, what are you looking for? Like, what's the most important factor in your decision?
I'd say, stability in the coaching staff, making sure they're not going nowhere, don't want to be playing with a bunch of different coordinators each year. But I'd say, the people around me, the recruiting class, is not a really big deal, but, obviously it plays a factor. Just getting up there and connecting with the coaches is probably the biggest thing. The relationship with the coaches, always, you got to be somewhere where you love the people. So I'd say that's up there for sure.
And you mentioned kind of the importance of having a good recruiting class around you. So when you are committed, are you going to be one of those vocal recruiters to the team and try to build a class around you?
I try to be, I'm not a phone guy a lot, so I try to recruit when I can. I'm not gonna be blowing you up and stuff, but I'll text you here and there, line up a visit together and stuff like that.
And you know who the good players are, so you'll put in the time when it comes to it. All right, so we can maybe expect a decision when? You thinking like spring, maybe into early summer, or do you think you'll take it before your senior year?
Probably right before my senior year. Just want to take it slowly, get to each school a couple times a piece, and just see what I like.
All right. Well, Jared Curtis, On3's #1 quarterback, #3 player overall in the 2026 class. Thanks for dropping by the On3 studios today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.